Riley Brennan is now missing. She was last seen in Shelby Oaks.
True paranormal TV shows and movies are a dime a dozen, and with the dual release of Shelby Oaks and Netflix's True Haunting, real-life horror has never been more in vogue.
Strike a pose.
But is truth stranger than fiction? Today I'm going to review Shelby Oaks, True Haunting, and provide some recommendations for the best true paranormal themed TV shows.
That house nearly destroyed us. It was a nightmare.
Plus, I'm joined by special guest Berry as we discuss our own experiences with ghosts and the unexplained. You're watching the Complete Guide to Horror Movies podcast. Hello and welcome back, fans and friends, and thank you very much for joining us today. If you're new here, this is a channel dedicated to exploring all things horror, whether it be movies or TV shows, video games or true events. If you're a returning viewer, thank you, you get an extra hello.
Hello!
Now let's get down to business. There are numerous TV shows and documentaries and hell, even YouTube channels that are dedicated to showcasing ghosts caught on tape and reenactments of alleged paranormal encounters.
Ooh.
The latest indie horror craze, Shelby Oaks, is based on the disappearance of Riley Brennan and her co-host of a fictional show called Paranormal Paranoids. Shelby Oaks is executively produced by horror king Mike Flanagan and was written, directed and produced by Chris Stuckmann and his wife Samantha. This found footage mystery has been making waves across all different horror talks and different horror YouTube channels, so last night I sat down at the cinema and watched Shelby Oaks, so here's my honest review.
Thank you for making that announcement that no one cared about.
First off, let me state that every horror movie fan and alleged horror fan needs to go out and support indie horror. Whether you like or whether you dislike or whether you love or whether you hate certain indie horror films like Shelby Oaks and other ones that have come out recently, especially in the past couple of years like Host, etc., they demand our support. So make sure you go and support them. Now, having said that, I have a lot of problems with Shelby Oaks. I'm going to give it 5 out of 10. I've seen a lot of people claim that they love this movie and other people saying that they absolutely hate it and that they don't understand how it got greenlit. I think that's very unfair criticism.
And I am choosing to ignore this verdict.
What? You can't ignore the verdict?
What verdict? See, this is me ignoring the verdict.
I think Shelby Oaks is a success story on its own. We already have the fact that it's the most funded horror project on Kickstarter, for one. The fact that it's also got the attention of Mike Flanagan, and the fact that this is a long gestating passion project that has come to the big screen is a huge triumph on its own.
I guess it's like Daddy always says. If you want something done right, pay someone a lot of money to do it for you.
I also felt that the final act was just rushed and looked like it had been written by a malfunctioning version of ChatGPT just to try and tie everything up in one last little shocking, I guess, crescendo or whatever.
I guess that explains everything.
Not everything. There's still the little matter of the whereabouts of your wife.
I'm right here.
Oh, I see. Then everything is wrapped up in a neat little package.
Netflix's True Haunting, on the other hand, is just abysmal. I'm sorry, this could have been a really good documentary series. It could have followed in the footsteps of the greats like A Haunting or Paranormal Witness, hell, even Haunted Hospitals, but yet this is so boring. If you're going to do a documentary series about ghosts, you can take some liberties, you can exaggerate some things, you can make it really scary, it's easy. And yet they don't do shit with it. It is so boring, not even the jump scares can save this. I can't even tell you what happened in the 5 episodes that I watched. The whole time I'm watching this going, okay, like, why did they stretch this thin story over so many episodes? It should have been half an hour at most.
And I just didn't feel safe anymore.
What I do recommend for true paranormal based TV shows and movies, etc., are the classics. So things like I've already mentioned, like A Haunting, we've got Paranormal Witness, My Haunted House, Extreme Ghost Stories, Ghost Adventures, Celebrity Ghost Stories, Haunted Hospitals. You could also explore Unsolved Mysteries, Beyond Belief Fact or Fiction, and YouTube channels such as Bizarre Bub, which is one of my personal favourite ones. There's also Nick Crowley, who does The Most Dangerous Shocking Parts of the Internet or TV's Darkest Moments, etc. That's where you want to go towards. Avoid True Haunting at all costs.
I said haunted house! I'm sorry, but not a match.
The criticism I will give these TV shows, though, like A Haunting, etc., is that a lot of them do tend to be stuck within the Christian faith. So there's a lot of scenes around, like, good triumphs over evil, and it's Satan crushing Jesus, and Jesus crushes Satan in the end. Very hyper-religious, but that's the fun of it. I mean, these were made in the 2000s and the early 2000s. 2010s, they've got to take some liberties with that. It's still very entertaining. And speaking of true paranormal experiences, my good friend Barry joined me, and we discussed everything from our experiences with the paranormal and just weird shit we can't even explain. Things that involve our stories being set in Las Vegas, encounters with debunked boxes, shared childhood, night terrors, you name it, we cover it, so stick around.
What if I see a ghost? I don't know, Steve. You'll probably piss your pants.
Barry, you've had some very interesting experiences all the way from your childhood all the way through to urban exploring or urbexing and Vegas as well with your mum. So I guess to start off with, I'm very interested in the Vegas story. To be fair, I'm very interested in all of them, but I have my own Vegas story to tell, so I'm dying to know what yours is. So can you take us through it?
Yeah, so it was our first trip to Vegas in 2019. And I was like adamant. I was like, Mum, we have to go to the Zak Bagans Museum. I was like, we need to go. Like, that's the one thing that we do. We're going to see Lady Gaga and we're going to go to the Zak Bagans Museum. That's what we're going to do. So we booked it like online. And we booked it kind of like towards the end of the trip. And it was, I think it was probably like, it was in the Arvo when we went. There was not that many people. We rock up. There's like all the like, you might die, blah, blah, sign this waiver, like all on the TV shows. We wait in the line. The host was epic. He was like so strange. Yeah. And just like, he was probably like one of the best bits of it. Like he was just, he just like acted like he hated you the whole time. And it was amazing. So we went through, they kind of swapped to like a different guide, like once they take you in. And I think it was the third room that we'd been into. So they take you in, and it was all haunted paintings. So they kind of like go through and explain like what the different paintings were. And they also had the big haunted mirror where it's like, if you look into it, you know, you feel whatever you feel. They were like, everyone gets a chance to look into it. So I was like, okay, you know, just standing in the room. Walked around, did my look in the mirror. We're just like standing towards the back of the room, and I just start feeling really seasick. Like, I just start like almost rocking back and forth. I'm like, this is a bit weird. Like, is the room just really stuffy? And we're actually stuck in the room for probably about 5 more minutes than we were supposed to be because the group after us hadn't moved on yet. So we were just kind of like waiting for them to kind of clear the next room so we could move. And it just kind of kept getting worse. And I was like, my mum like looked over at me and was like, are you like all right? And I was like, like I just feel a bit, I was like, maybe it's, you know, maybe it was a lunch we had, like this doesn't feel great. And I'm just standing there like kind of just dealing with it. And the host kind of looks over and she's like, are you all right? And I'm like, like I explain. And she's like, do you feel like you're on a boat? And I was like, yeah. Because I was like, I couldn't really describe like the feeling. Like I only kind of learned that I felt a bit seasick kind of after. And she was like, oh yeah, that's paranormal. That's common in this room. Yeah. And I was like,
wow.
What? She's like, yeah, lots of people experience that in this room. And I was like, oh, okay, because they hadn't, like, they kind of play you, like, little videos in some of the rooms where they show you, like, people getting pushed and all that stuff, or people fainting. They're like, oh my God, like, you know, shock value. But she was just so casual. She was just like, yeah. But literally as soon as I crossed that threshold to the hallway, normal. Instantly back to normal. Like, it was just, and I felt fine for the rest of it. But my mum also had her paranormal experience a few rooms later. It was like it was in like they had the, what's his name? You know, the Dr. Death with his big caravan where he was like shooting people up and I forgot his name. They have, so was it Kevorkian?
For some reason I was thinking Collagium, but I think that's a Final Destination character. I know who you mean though.
Yeah, and like the name is like on the tip of my tongue. But they had like, so Zak had actually like, apparently that was supposed to have been destroyed, and Zak had gone and found it at a dump pretty much, that they hadn't actually destroyed this caravan and then acquired it. So they have a whole room that's just the caravan, and they've like set up like all the injection machines and stuff inside it. And then so you kind of stand in this room and watch a video kind of explaining all of this. And so my mum and I were kind of towards the back of the room. I was pretty far away from her. Like we were kind of both in kind of like corners. And we were just watching, and she just like turns and she's like, did you just like punch me? And I was like, no, like I'm nowhere near you. And she was like, I just got freaking punched, like in the back. Like someone had been like standing behind her and just gone like this. And I was like,
oh my God,
what the hell? But it was so freaky because at the same time they showed the video of someone fainting in the room, literally like at the same time that she felt the punch. And it was like, and she had like, there was like, she lifted her shirt and there was like a red mark. I wish I'd taken a photo because I'm like, she was like, I thought you had like tripped and like elbowed me in the side or something, like it was that violent.
Oh.
And I was just like, no, I literally was nowhere near you. Like, and she was just like freaked out for the rest of the time, like just like watching her back the whole time we were going through, because she was just like so like, what has just happened? And it just, yeah, it like felt like it kind of stuck through the kind of tour, because she's like, I just felt like weird after that, like just kind of heavy and like, and yeah, but it was so bizarre.
Damn. I can say that my experience is very different from that. I haven't had the pleasure yet of going to Zak's museum yet. I think, actually, maybe I didn't do my research properly. Last time I went to Vegas was 2017, but I've been there a few times. And my story is very weird in the sense that this is the first time that I've actually had a conversation with, I don't know what it was. It could be a ghost, could be something, but every other paranormal experience I've had has tended to be very short bursts of like paranormal activity. And yes, I did say that because of your shirt, but also because like I've got my substance one.
Hell yeah.
If I think back to my childhood, teenagehood, even my experiences as an adult, it tends to be things that happen within 2 or 3 seconds, and then I always think, did that happen or was I just imagining that? Like, part of me is very much still a skeptic, and then the other part of me is just like, well, you've clearly seen some shit. Like, how do you explain some of these things? Like, come on.
Yeah.
But and this is so embarrassing. I cannot remember the name of the hotel that I was at, because this is back in 2015 when I went to Vegas the second time. And full disclosure, I was a huge alcoholic at the time. Like, doing massive bottles of wine every night and everything. And when I went to Vegas, it was to see No Doubt, because they were doing a one-off show, which is very funny because it's like the 10-year anniversary and now they're redoing it, but I don't know if I want to see it because Gwen Stefani is now full on like Margot Bride, like no. But yeah, so back in 2015, it wasn't the Stratosphere. I know I was staying there, but I had ventured out into Vegas and I was a little drunk and I'm just walking through. The only thing I can remember was that it was between Planet Hollywood and New York Casino, which means there's so many in between. Like, it could be the Cosmopolitan, it could be the Bellagio, it could be the Wynn, any.
And they've knocked so many of them down now too.
Oh shit, really?
There's been like 4 of them that they've gotten rid of, in like the past, like since then, Even this year they just demolished, I don't know if it was like Flamingo or something. It's one of the ones with a fountain at the front, and they auctioned off all the like furniture inside, but they got rid of like heaps of them now. They've just demolished. Hard Rock gone, like.
Wow. Damn. See, that's how long it's been since I've been to Vegas. But I just remember being at this bar, and usually I gamble like crazy when I'm in Vegas, but I remember I didn't want to go to a machine because I was on a winning streak. And so I thought, if I put any more money in, I'm going to lose it all. I know how I am. So I was at the bar and I got served by the bartender, and this girl comes up next to me and she had long chestnut brown hair and she was very friendly. And straight away I'm like, what's going on? Like, no one's that friendly. Yeah. And like, especially strangers. So I was waiting for like the sales pitch or her to be like, here's a card, come to Playboy Lounge, or come to this experience that you pay $1,000 for, or whatever.
Yeah, here's my day rates if you want to spend the night.
Yeah, literally. I was like, okay, like, we'll see how this goes. But instead, she was just talking, and she was telling me about how she had to catch a late night flight to go to her university. And we struck up a conversation, and out of nowhere, she just grabs my hand, and like I say it like it's really forcefully. She politely put her hand on top of mine and said, "I want you to stop drinking. Okay, goodbye." And then just
that just gave me like the chills.
But like she just left out of nowhere, and I was just sitting there, and I'm just like, what the fuck just happened? Because like I didn't tell this girl anything about drinking. We were just casually talking. But when she touched my hand, it was really, really warm. Like, I don't know how to explain it. Like warmer than a normal person's touch. And did that cure my alcoholism? No. I still drank like crazy. But it was the catalyst, I guess, of me doing things like go through Alcoholics Anonymous and all that stuff.
Yeah.
But I always wonder, like, who was that girl? Like, like,
and it's like, and the fact that you remember that out of like all of it, like that's like the one clear bit of that memory. Like, it gave me the shivers. Even when you said when she touched you, I was like, ooh.
Like, I had something similar. What's the word? Not ghostly at all. I was at the I think it's called the Rolling Stone Bar at LAX airport.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know if it's still there. It's been like 8 or 10 years since I was last in America. But when I went there, a similar thing happened where a girl came up, pulled up next to me, but that's because it was the only bar stool that was there. And she was telling me about how she was so excited to go home and visit her family. And we struck up a conversation. It was casual and everything, but we were on the same flight. So, like, I know that wasn't a ghost or whatever, but, like, it's just, I can't explain a thing like that because it was, like, everything snapped where she was just like, I want you to stop drinking. I'm like, like, in my mind, I'm like, don't tell me what to do. And then I'm like, nah, this person's right. And
like, that's, like, a sign. Like, I've had a lot of, like, kind of guardian angel kind of experiences, and I get a lot of deja vu, like,
same.
Yeah, so I'm like, it's a sign, like, it's some kind of, I definitely think it's not just I think that is something, because I get it a lot with like dreams. You'll get people pop up in your dreams that are like, you need to stop doing this, you need to do this, and I'm like, oh.
It's scary. I'm like, don't come to me in my dreams, but also don't come to me in reality because I'm scared of ghosts. Like, I am such a scaredy cat. The as I say, the other Vegas one, and this is weird because I don't know if it counts as well, but so this is back in 2017. I took my brother on this trip to America where we went to Los Angeles first, then Vegas, then New York, and then back to Los Angeles for like 2 or 3 nights, I think it was, and then come back home. And we didn't encounter anything paranormal there per se, but when we got to Los Angeles, the first night I had a dream that there was a magician, and he came up to me and said, "Oh, can you pick a card?" And before I could pick a card, I woke up, and I thought, "Oh, that was weird, like odd dream." And then we were there in Los Angeles for a couple of days. Then when we went to Vegas, the first night in Vegas, the magician goes, pick a card. So I picked one, and it was the King of Hearts. And he goes, all right, put it back in the deck. And when I put it back in the deck, he just went like this. And then I woke up, and I was like, what the fuck was that? Like, it was the same magician too. Like, same look, same everything. And I was like, okay, I don't understand what's going on. Like, I will have some dreams that are not sequential, but like it'll repeat the same dream every like once every 5 years, 10 years, whatever. And some of the dreams are really strange. Like, I'll be put into a video game like Super Mario 64 or Zelda or something, like crazy shit. But when we got to New York, the place we were staying in, and I really wish I could display the photos up here because I contacted the Airbnb owners. They do not want any, of course, their Airbnb, they don't want any bad publicity, as they saw it. I was trying to skew it around with them and say, but if people think your place is haunted, they might actually want to stay in your place. Like, but no, didn't get permission. But we were staying at this place in West West New Jersey or West New York. It was this very lovely house. I can't remember why we stayed in the house instead of like a proper hotel room. I think it was because it was cheaper from memory, but the place just gave us the creeps. Like, we didn't see anything, but there was just such an unsettling feeling that I haven't experienced before. And I've stayed at other Airbnbs in America time and time again. And we had separate rooms. So my brother had this medium-sized room. I had the larger room. And at the end, I don't know what it is with Americans, they had like the flat screen TV that was on like a coat stand or something.
Yeah.
Like, I don't know what it is with that, but I just did not like it. I was just like, oh, this is so uncomfortable. And I thought, and I haven't slept for like 24 hours. I've got so much jet lag. I want to go to sleep. And of course, first night in New York, I didn't see the pattern until afterwards. Every time I stayed the first night in the new city, I had a dream about this magician. And in New York, scared the shit out of me. Had a dream, and I was in Vegas. And the magician comes up to me and goes, oh, I see you picked the King of Hearts. And I looked at my card, which I didn't know I was holding at the time in the dream.
Yeah.
And I said, yeah, I did. And he goes, do you want to see a magic trick? I woke up, all the lights are flashing in the room. I was so petrified. I've got chills now thinking about it.
Me too, I'm getting chills.
And I was just like, oh fuck. And then I didn't know what to do, so I ran into the room that my brother was sleeping in, and I was like, can I sleep in your bed tonight? Like, mind you, I was 2017, so I would have been 24 or 25 at the time. And grown adult being like, can I sleep in your bed? Like, it's so pathetic. But I was terrified. And I don't know.
It's so scary.
And I don't know what it is. I don't know what that dream was meant to symbolize. But it was just a electrical issue with the house. So I messaged the Airbnb owners and they said, oh, look, sometimes that does happen. So we should have let you know beforehand. And I'm thinking, but what has that got to do with this magician? And why did I wake up at the same time he said, want to see a magic trick? Like, that always spooks me.
That, oh my god, that makes me think of when I was in New Orleans in 2023. I want to do, because on my 2019 trip, I'd been to New Orleans for the first time. But I hadn't got to do any tours or anything. But I was just like, there was something about the city that's like, every time I leave, it's like, you must come back. Like, you must come back here. And it's a very, very, like, they're so spiritual there. Like, spirits are so celebrated and welcomed and trusted, that I just feel, it's like a really good connection there. But I went on a tour in 2023 when I was there, and it was this lady, she was a high priestess, and she kind of just like took us through the history. We went to like I can't remember the name of the park. It was like something Armstrong Park, like the main park. So she was just taking us around, like giving us all the history, telling us about the different spirits and like the different meanings and everything. And then she started to tell us about how the ancestors will contact you through messages like that to warn you of things. And she shared like her own experience that she was like at home and like washing her face, and she like looked up and there was like herself but dead, and it just said, your mother is dead, and disappeared. And she was just like, didn't listen, like just, kept like doing what she was doing. It popped up again, your mother is dead, like just deadpan, like. And she said 2 minutes later, got the call from her sister, the mother died in her sleep. And it's like, I was like, holy shit. That's what that makes me think of, like something coming through to you, either as a warning or just even just playing bloody tricks on you. But it's like they'll use anything, dreams, mirrors, they're all kind of like that kind of portal where you're kind of susceptible to receiving these messages. I get so many in my dreams, and so many, I'm like, I don't realize until a few weeks later when I get that deja vu feeling and go, that I dreamt that.
Actually, sorry, you just gave me another memory which I completely forgot about, because in preparation for this podcast, I did write down a list of like every paranormal experience. I could be like, which ones are relevant compared to, you know, the guests that I'm interviewing. Speaking of mirrors, this is the only mirror type of experience that I can actually think of. It scared me to death. This is back in 2019 or possibly 2020, but I think it was 2019 before COVID. I remember I was at my oldest sister's friend's house, and usually the three of us would just smoke up and we would get really high or whatever, and like very, very blunt for a podcast, but it wasn't necessarily like a addiction or anything like that, but I could tell that I was doing this more than usual. And the one thing I've always heard from people is, if you're on drugs or whatever, don't look into the mirror, like don't stare into the mirror, because you might freak yourself out. And I unintentionally abided by that rule. And my sister's friend, she had this massive mirror in her bathroom. And I thought, oh, let me just stare at the mirror for like 10 seconds. And it fucking terrified me because my reflection changed. And like it was smiling back at me. But at the same time, I was sober at this time. So I hadn't smoked, I hadn't drank, I hadn't done anything. And I was just like, okay, I'm no longer doing this anymore. Where like it did like curb my experiences with like smoking and everything. But it was also something where I in my mind, I think I was just scaring myself. Like I was playing, like my mind was playing tricks on me as opposed to something actually happening. But like it's scary.
It's so scary. It's so scary. Have you ever done that test where they say if you sit and stare at a mirror like face to face like this, that your features will change and move and stuff?
No.
You need to look it up. I need to send it to you. Yeah.
But that's similar to what happened to me, because like I started smiling even though in reality I was just like that, and then my eyes seemed to change color. But again, I don't know if that was like the lighting. Like I try to be what's the word, logical about some things, but again, there's a lot of stuff that's happened that I'm like, I can't explain that. Like how?
There's like I just thought of this other little American related paranormal experience that I had. My mum and I went to Hawaii in, I think it was, God, this probably would have been like 2017. And we did like a ghost tour because that's the people we are. But I was like, I want to find like a legit one. So we found this guy and he was so nice. Like he was lovely, like native Hawaiian. He said he worked 3 jobs on top to support his family. Like they all live in the one house. I was like, oh my God, he was amazing. But he took us to like all these different places, and just like kind of explained, instead of just being like, ooh, scary, like it was like kind of talking you through the actual history of the places. And we went to this one and it was like a burial ground. And they called it like the orb tour because they were like, bring your camera, take photos, see if you get any orbs. So I had my like little digital camera. And so we're at this, this burial site. He's like, take photos here, like we'll see what happens. So I'm snapping. I take this one photo and this orb that looks like a bug, with wings. Ooh. And I'm like, that's a bug. That's a fly. So I'm like, let me show him. And he like stepped back. Like he's like, do you have any relatives that have passed away? And I was like, oh, like my cousin, blah, blah, blah. And he was like, she has fairy blood. She is here. That is her. And I was like, what? And he didn't know anything about her. She's like, she was a lot like me, like very spooky, love pumpkins, like just, but he like explained her, like without even knowing anything.
Yeah.
It was just like the weirdest. It was so freaky. But yeah, I'll have to send you the photo because it literally looks like a little fairy person, like just like floating through. And I was like, but he literally was like, oh my God, like this is like the most clear that I've ever seen. And he was like, there's no way that's a bug, because he's like, this one here, you see this speck? He's like, that's a bug. You can see that this is a bug. But it literally looked like someone had like light painted. Like it was like such a surreal experience, especially with someone so kind of connected. because he was the whole time just like telling us all his own background about everything and how he was spiritually connected, and it was just it was beautiful, and I was just like, holy shit.
Oh, I admittedly, when it comes to my family, there is a lot of like paranormal things that have happened. All on my mum's side of the family. I don't know if anything's happened on my dad's side of the family because they typically don't talk about paranormal stuff. But the one very quick one I'll just talk about is do you know the suburb Carlingford around Sydney?
Yes. Yep.
So have you ever driven past or walked past the Mormon temple?
Oh yeah.
So my mother's side of the family, the majority of them are Mormon, and I used to be Mormon as like a child, but quickly grew out of it. I'm just like, yeah, no thanks. But I had always heard all these stories around like the Mormon churches being haunted, things that like my nan has heard voices in the church, my pops heard voices in the church when they used to clean and all that stuff. But the one that like freaks me out a little bit is my uncle. So when he was a little kid, the whole family traveled from Orange all the way to Sydney to the temple as part of, it was something to do with baptism or the temple recommends or something Mormon anyway that I don't really understand. And it was to do with my mum and my auntie who were getting temple recommends or something. And my mum said that she got her dress, like she felt her dress get caught on something, so she went to untangle it and there was nothing there. Like, there was nothing that could have tangled her dress or caught it. And she always felt that it was like someone trying to stop her from like going up the staircase or wherever she was in this temple. My uncle, on the other hand, so he kept saying to my pop, why is that clown laughing at everyone? And my pop thought it was just this 7-year-old kid like being dramatic or whatever because he wasn't the center of attention.
Yeah.
And he's like, Jason, calm down, like stop it. And then my uncle started crying and was like, it's really scaring me, I don't want to be here anymore. So then he drew a picture of what this clown looked like, and it looked like your typical jester, like with the bells on the ends and everything. And like I didn't see the picture. My mum said that it was terrifying to look at. No one else saw whatever my uncle had seen as a kid. But when I asked my uncle a couple of years ago, because I had this whole separate podcast where I'm like, tell me all your paranormal experiences and all that stuff. I wanted him to guest on it because I'm like, I want to know his version of what happened. And he just went, no, not talking about it. And I was like, okay, I clearly hit a very sore spot. So, yeah. But,
oh my God.
Like, that whole thing has always stuck in my mind, especially because years ago, back in 2012 or 2013, an old friend of mine from university, he was staying over at my place, and he was just like, oh, I want to do something, like, let's go for a walk somewhere. I'm like, where do you want to go around Carlingford? Like, the Mormon temple? And he's like, yeah, can we? And I was like, sure, why not? So we walk all the way to the Mormon temple. Nothing was fenced around at this time, so you could walk all the way up to the church doors and everything. And he goes, oh, I think I see someone in there. I was like, yeah, it's probably the cleaner, like, or someone preparing something at midnight for church the next day. But when we both looked into the doors, it was just these very circular shadows that were going. And I was just like, nah, I don't like this. I'm getting the fuck out of here.
Yeah, hell no. Hell no.
And he was just like, well, so what was that? Is that like a thing in Mormon religion? I'm like, I don't know what it is, but I'm telling you now, I do not like it.
Yeah, that's like, I'm like, no.
Like, back away.
Oh
but you mentioned to me before that you've had some experiences with urban exploring or urbexing. I watch a lot of YouTube channels that are all about like urban exploring. I've read this comment on a YouTube video where someone said, whenever my favorite YouTube urban explorer puts out a new video, he'll turn all the lights off in his house, put the volume on 100 on his TV, and he sits in front of the TV and watches it so that he can get that full scary experience. And there's so many I've seen where it's like bottles flying out at urban explorers, but no one's thrown it. It could be an entity or something, or people seeing shadows, people seeing orbs. So yeah, I'm very interested to hear your experiences as well.
Yeah, so I've been doing it for a while. Like I started when I was like a teenager. Like I'm 26 now. And one of my other cousins, she's really into it. She's in Melbourne. She still does it. So one year we like went over for Christmas, and she's like, "Let me take you to some abandoned buildings instead of having family lunch." And I was like, "Yes, yes." So that kind of like started it all, and like I kind of never really went into it kind of expecting anything paranormal, like because I've always been very like, ooh, scary, like that kind of stuff. Yeah. But I never really kind of was like, oh, I'll like, this is where I need to go, like ghost hunting. So we started off like I've been to so many different kinds of places. Like there's a lot of like industrial buildings, stuff like that. I love particularly like houses, old houses, and then old hospitals and schools. They're like probably my two favorite. And I've been to a few different schools. And I've been to my favorite probably hospital is definitely, it was out in Young. Like me and my friend Em drove like 4 hours. Sorry, Em, I don't have my license, so they had to drive like 8 hours. But it was so worth it. Like the place had like no graffiti, like it was untouched. Like,
oh wow.
We had to crawl in through like a broken glass door. But it was just like, it was one of those like really old hospitals that like had like everything was like wooden staircases, like old wooden buildings, and then they kind of had like more of like the ward areas that kind of looked more clinical, but they had kind of like almost like where probably like nurses and stuff would have stayed. And yeah, I just remember the beautiful big staircases and just these long, massive hallways. And I was like, I want to take long exposures. I was like, I want to set my camera up at the hallway, have like just enough light to kind of catch our shadows as we walk towards the camera. So I set up the camera. I just do a few solo ones first. I'm like, okay, they look super creepy. Like it just kind of ends up looking like you just kind of as a shadow, because you kind of like walk slowly and not move too much, so it doesn't like capture like a lot, but you're just kind of like an outline. And I'm like, okay, like we should do some, looks like really creepy, us like walking down the hallway together. So we go, we take a couple, I go out and have a look. I first see Em. Em is not in the photos. And I'm like, what do you mean? And I thought, oh, maybe it's because like I'm wearing a bit of a lighter clothing. No, like none of them showed up. Not even their head, not even anything, not even an outline. It was like they weren't even there. And I tried taking ones of them on their own. Same thing. They would not show up in these photos. And I just could not get it to explain why. I would change the settings. Like they'd show up in a normal photo, and you just take it. But nothing, no amount of adjustment for like the light letting in and stuff would make them show up in these photos. And it was just so strange. This whole place had just like, when it like feels like it's on your chest.
Yes.
When you're like, that's just what it felt like the whole time we were there. And it was so empty. And yeah, we were walking down one hallway and we could hear like dripping. And I was like, what is that? And we found this bathroom. It was full of water, but there was no drips. I could not see any drips. I do not know where the dripping sound was coming from. There was no, we turned the tap. There was no water. There was no like leaks in the roof, but this bath was full, like to the line, and when we walked outside, as soon as we left, drip, 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 drip. But you go in the room, nothing. And I had my film camera, so I had like a baby doll head with me. So I was like posing at places, and even like getting those developed, like some of them came out like really, really grainy and like really not how I would have expected them to come out. I'll have to send you some and I'll have to find them. But it was just, that was like one of the experiences where I was like, something happened here. Like, something was covered up. That's what it kind of felt like. I'm like, and because it's demolished now, like it's gone. They got rid of it. but it was just, yeah, that was like, because I go, like, yeah, I've been into so many of these places and felt nothing.
Yeah.
And a lot of people do, like, hype it up, going, ooh, like, ghost hunting. Like, I've even had people try and invite me on TikTok, like, be like, come, let's go, like, ghost hunting, rah, 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 rah. And I'm like, I don't feel it in all of these places. Because, like, some of them, it's just like, it's just someone's house. Like, they didn't. But then there was, like, oh, there was one house. It was, there was, like, this block of houses in Western Sydney. There was probably, like, 4 in a row. That were all abandoned, and they had there was like a massive tennis court like attached to one of them. Like, they were huge. But we went in this one house, and there was like still like clothes like everywhere. I ended up like taking like a kid's Scouts like top that had all the badges on it.
Oh yeah.
But I went into the bathroom, and it was just covered in cards, like birthday cards. And I was like, oh, so I pick them up, and they're all addressed to who must have been the owner. But I'm like, there was probably 200 cards just all over this bathroom, ranging from like the 1980s till like 2005. Just all different like birthdays. I think I took one because I was like, I need one for my collection. But I was just like, this is someone's whole life. Right in these cards. Like, that's when I kind of like start to feel things, is when there's like, you're like, someone was here, like, and you're like, what happened? Why did they leave all this stuff here? Because there was another block I went to a few years ago that was also a big block of houses, and we went in this one, and I did like a little photo shoot in there in like my clown outfit, and it still had like, the dishes were still on the bench. The food was still in the fridge. Like, all the kids' toys were still there. The beds. It's like, what happened to these people?
Yeah.
That's what freaks me out the most, I think, is I'm like, for some people, they're just like, oh, I don't care. Like, I just want to go in and smash shit up and graffiti and, you know. And I'm like, what happened to these people?
Yeah.
Why aren't they here? Why is there 4 houses abandoned? Like, it freaks me out. The houses and the schools and the hospitals are like I have a good school story if you do want to hear.
I was going to say, before we do get to the school story, have you ever checked out Queen Victoria Hospital or Parramatta Orphanage?
I've been where was the Queen Victoria Hospital? Oh, is that the one in the Blue Mountains?
I think it's either in the Blue Mountains or very close to Sydney. I'll see if I can find it,
because I'm pretty sure that's the one I went to, and we tried to go, and there's a caretaker that lives across the road, and literally as soon as you start driving up, he like tails you, because we sat and like we parked and we like just watched, and we saw some guys like try and go in the fence, and they have like dogs there. Like, that was I never got to go in there. I do know a few people that did. But if that's the one I'm thinking of, there's like this caretaker that like, he like, he's like brutal. He's like, I'll shoot you, like.
Yeah, I think it's the same one. Yeah, I was like obsessed with Queen Victoria Hospital and Parramatta Orphanage in particular, from this old TV series that no one's really heard of called Scream Test.
Next, we scream test 4 new competitors in the creepy Queen Victoria Hospital.
Come on, ghost. Show yourself.
They turned into like a game show where it's like, go explore ghosts around these haunted areas, and then of course there's production tricks where they put things on strings and whatever to make it scarier than what it actually is. But the Queen Victoria Hospital, they interviewed some of the former nurses, and the nurses would talk about how they'd see things like all these shadows gravitate towards one painting, and for some reason that scared the shit out of me as a kid, and I'm like, it's a painting. But then Parramatta Orphanage, because I remember trying to go to Queen Victoria Hospital when I was about 19 or 20, and it seemed like it was impossible because they were on the verge of demolishing it or on the verge of selling it to a private owner, which I think is that person who now owns it. The Parramatta Orphanage, on the other hand, they've reopened it for like horror film screenings time to time. Like, I'll get ads for it on Instagram, and I'm like, oh, they're doing a film screening there? But not my story, but another friend of mine did go to Parramatta Orphanage, and he's convinced to this day that he saw a blonde girl with a red ball. And I'm like, well, what was she doing there? Like, could it have been like a neighbor's kid or something?
Yeah.
Like, trying to think logically.
That's freaky.
And he just said she was in very ratty clothing that looked like they hadn't been washed in like a good year. The girl looked like she hadn't showered in forever, but that the red ball, he specifically remembers the bouncing sound, because it was like that, like a normal bouncing sound is quite loud. He said the sound was like amplified by 10 times, and that it scared him. He's like, there's something that was very unnatural about the ball, like the ball sound. He's like, everything else, like, yeah, it's creepy and everything, but he wasn't necessarily scared of the little girl.
Yeah.
Just the unusualness.
Yeah, God, yeah, no, I wish I had gone there. No, I didn't get to go before it, like, they were like, let's do this up. Same with, like, the jail, same thing.
Yeah. It's like, I went to the quarantine station twice. The first time I went there, I thought I actually caught a ghost on tape, and then I made this YouTube video about where I'm like, I found a ghost caught on tape. This is back in 2013. And then I took my younger sister, and my younger brother too, back to the quarantine station back in 2022 and debunked my own video. Because the sound I thought I caught on video was the sound of the rotary phone. And I'm like, that's what the sound was the whole time? Like 9 years I've been telling people, I caught a ghost on video and this, and I've got proof. And it turned out it was a rotary phone. Are you kidding me?
That's so funny. That is, oh my God. I did have a little paranormal experience on Cockatoo Island.
Ooh.
I went on their ghost tour, and we were going up the hill towards the house, and I'm like, I'm pissed they never let you into the houses. But every time I would look up at this house, my eyes, like, I would almost, like, lose vision, like, just looking into this one window. And it was just, like, every time. And I just could not explain what, like, I would almost, like, I was like, oh, my God, what is going on? Like, it was every time I just look at this one house, and I was like, I really want to go in there. Like, let me in. And they're like, no. And I was like, please, I need to know what's in there. Why?
Yes. Let me in. Now, I was going to say, Barry, you also told me prior about some other urban exploration stories. Also, one very interesting one involving medical documents that were scattered. So, could you tell me more about that one?
Yeah, so I don't know if people, like, Sydney people might be aware, but it was in the news a few years ago that a woman hiking through the grounds of an abandoned hospital came across a bunch of medical documents that were just like, people's medical documents, medical history, charting, just strewn everywhere. I actually had been there prior to this and had seen the medical documents. So Garrawarra they are still partially a working hospital. So you kind of have to, like, park on the road and, like, run through the bush. But it's so creepy. Like, the trees and stuff are so overgrown that they cover all the windows. So when you're inside, like, it's just, like, all green and creepy. But you would just, like, walk into rooms and there was just documents, like, all over the floor, all over the hallways. And they were just, you like reading them and you're like, these are people. Like, these are people that were here. But there was hundreds everywhere, every room that you went, just like, because I'm like, someone must have, like, it was trash. Like, people trash these places, sadly. So I'm like, they must have just, like, gone through all the filing cabinets and just thrown everything everywhere. And they also had a morgue. And so that was my, like, number one thing. I was like, I need to find this morgue. And we found the morgue, and they had still, like, the fridges where you put the bodies. And so I was like, I'm gonna get in there. So I got them. I, like, laid on this, like, body tray and got my friend to, like, push me in. But they still had, like, body bags, like, all the, like, biohazard bags.
Damn.
But I've been to 2 other hospitals that had patient records still there. I went to probably the freakiest one. I actually have a piece of. I've got some blood slides, and I have a piece of breast tissue that's like encased in the resin, because we actually went to Balmain Hospital, and there was it was like the autopsy room. That was the bit that was abandoned, so it had like the big autopsy tables, and then just these two massive filing cabinets just full of blood slides, tissue samples, like cancer samples, all name dated, like everything just there, like all these just like human remains just like in these filing cabinets, just like whatever. And I also went to, they called it the Spastic Centre. It was for like people with cerebral palsy out in Western Sydney, and there's like a massive slide, like from the like you can like, it was like crazy. I didn't go down the slide, but I sat in the slide. And the same, we didn't even get to really go in because it was pretty boarded. My friend who I was with, he was able to like crawl through because he was a lot tinier than I am. But even just outside, there were medical notes just around, just strewn in the grass, like, and I was like reading them. I think I had some photos, and it's like, you know, it was like, oh, Charlie acted up today, we gave him this, like, blah blah blah, like, just like, so I'm like, how does this happen? Like, I've been to 3 different places that just still had all this stuff in it. I'm like, how does this happen? How does this happen?
God, I wish I did a lot more urban exploring, because don't get me wrong, I know that you know, there are people who graffiti and trash it, as you've said. I find it so fascinating and interesting, but again, what holds me back is that I'm a big scaredy cat. So my worry is that I would drive all the way out somewhere, and then before I even step foot onto the property, I'd be like, no, can't do it, too scared. Like, like, how do you find that I guess the confidence and the like, how do you push past any like fears or doubt to do that? Because I think a lot of viewers would be interested as well.
Yeah, well, one thing, I always go with someone. I've only been, the only place I went in alone was Newtown Tram Sheds, which is like attached to Newtown Station. And that's just like it's not really that scary. So that was okay. But yeah, I joined like Facebook groups and made friends, so we kind of try and go together. But yeah, I do get really nervous, like, especially kind of like security, more so even just getting caught. That's what makes me really nervous. But it's just like, you know, you've always got to make sure, like, I always wear like closed-toed shoes. I try and like have like legs and arms covered if I can, because like barbed wire can like cut the shit out of you. I've ruined many a pair of tights like on like barbed wire. And I think just like kind of research. I think researching the places kind of makes me feel almost familiar. And I just like love learning the history, and I feel like it's just a lot more respectful of the place when I kind of go kind of knowing, you know, like, oh, people died here, like, so then I kind of just don't feel as scared, because I'm like, I know kind of what to expect, but like, you still get terrified in the bloody hospitals. Like, I still am like, jump like anytime I hear anything, like, but it's also just like being aware, like, because I have gone in places where other people have been. I've gone in places where there's been people squatting, and you've just got to be careful. So like, whenever I go in somewhere, I always like call out first, like, hello, like, is anybody here? Like, if I get a response, then, you know, I'll go find them and just be like, hey, we're just here to, you know, take some photos. We're not here to trash. And if they tell you to get lost, you get lost. And so I've really, not had too many issues with that kind of thing. But it's just, being respectful. I think people who get, like, who have issues, or, like, you know, like, oh my God, like, bro, we got chased by blah, blah, blah. It's like, it's because you were bloody smashing shit and, like, didn't actually have any respect for the place. Like, the one place that I, like, absolutely love, which was one of my first places, was Skeggs in Mossvale, which is like a private school. and it's beautiful. Like, it has a pretty like sad backstory for kind of why it ended up kind of abandoned. There was a man, I literally cannot remember his name, but he was like, I think he was like let out of prison to like just go and see like something at the school, like performed or like music or something. He ended up taking, I think it was either 1 or 2 students hostage. And there was like a big hostage situation, like, and I think he ended up killing them, and I think himself. In the auditorium. So like going there and just being like, whoa, like that room itself was like really, really heavy to be in. But what made me really sad is that I've been back a few times, and they, outside the auditorium, they had these stained glass roses that framed the door in memoriam of the students who passed. Each time I went back, it was more and more smashed up. So like now, like the roses don't even exist anymore. Like they're just completely smashed up. Like people have smashed holes in the stage at the auditorium, ripped curtains down, like, and they've just completely trashed like the boarding rooms because people think it's fun to like go and film themselves off for TikTok, like smashing in walls and stuff. And it's like this school has such beautiful history, and every time I went, it was just even more destroyed. And it was just like they had like an old exercise bike, like all this vintage like science equipment, like, and it just, every time I go, it's either stolen or smashed to pieces. Like there was this beautiful one room. Someone had obviously like set it up for like a photo op when they'd been there. They'd set up like all these beakers like in a row. Next time I went, the whole room was just covered in glass. Like every single beaker had been smashed to pieces. And they just like, they wrote the penises everywhere and bloody. But that's one of my favorite places. But it's so sad watching it deteriorate over time like that.
Yeah. I don't understand people who do that kind of shit when it comes to disrespecting, whether places are abandoned or not. Same with memorial sites. This is a little off topic, but I did this tour back in 2023 where it was traveling more around northeast, southwest. I need to get my compass in order. It was like northwestern New South Wales. So I was looking at places like Moree, Mile Creek, and learning about Indigenous massacres and things like that. And such a moving tour, by the way, because a lot of this stuff we don't get taught in school, which is insane. We'll get taught like World War II, but not like Aboriginal history, which is crazy. But we had this tour guide, and he was showing us all around the different memorial parts, and we could see that he was being very visibly affected when we would come across the thing where it was like the Mile Creek Massacre. It was not a memorial per se. It was just like a sign talking about the history of it. Yeah. And people are writing, like, I'm not repeating it on this podcast, just insane racist slurs and everything. And I'm like, on a thing about a mural, like, in a memorial, like, are you kidding me? And then, like, he's, like, the tour guide was just like, unfortunately, this happens every 6 months. And I'm like, how do people, like, you have to drive all the way out this way, and you're gonna do that just to, like, write a bunch of dicks on stuff? Like, are you kidding me?
It's despicable. Like, the amount of, like, Nazi, like, swastikas I've seen in places, like, even just, like, racist stuff, like, racist graffiti. I'm like, it's rampant. Like, I went to one house, and it was literally just covered in swastikas. I'm like what is wrong with you? Yeah, like, I started carrying paint pens so that I could, like, get rid of these things, because I'm like, they just pop up so often, and so much. Like, I'm like, why do you need to? And even like, I was on the bloody new metro, and I'm like, people have already bloody graffitied all over the signs and stuff, and I'm like, what is wrong with you? What is wrong with you?
buy a $3 for $10 canvas somewhere, or go steal the canvas. Like, do that instead. Don't, like, disrespect our bloody things.
It's bloody disgusting. It's so bad.
I was gonna say, we'll get into our final stories. I've got one that's a bit of a double-parter, so this is the strangest thing I've ever experienced. And I mean, we just spoke about magicians in my nightmares and all that stuff. This one hits a bit closer to home because to this day, I cannot explain any of this, and neither can my friend. Now, ex-friend. We haven't spoken in like 10, 15 years for a very good reason. But I'm not going to call her out on this podcast. So essentially what happened was back in 2009, I had this friend named Tiffany. And Tiffany and I were very, it was when I started like experimenting with like drinking and smoking weed and losing my virginity. Oh my God, so cool. Like typical like late teenager stuff. Tiffany was more of like my guide in a sense, where went to the same school. She was a year older than me, and she would encourage certain things. Like I'd say to her, "Oh, I really want to smoke weed." She'd be like, "Well, if you want, I can get some, and we can smoke together or whatever." You know, more of a like mentor, I guess. And
the gateway.
Like we had a good short friendship, and there were things that happened that I don't hold anything against her for. Honestly, she's completely fine. But we had three very weird experiences that I'll try and summarize as much as possible. The first one was, this is all back in Nambucca Heads, which is in between Sydney and Brisbane, very coastal town, but it's basically Mount Druitt by the sea. Like lots of crime, lots of violence, just so much shit that happens. There's all these urban legends around the area. One about a yowie that's apparently near my house, my parents' house, I should say. Another one involving a person who was set on fire in this bushland, but there's no newspaper reports to confirm it. And I'm like, okay, well, someone from high school made that up, obviously, because it would just like go down school to school. And what happened was my friend Tiffany and I were walking through this part called the bush track, which in short is a very short, what the fuck? It's a massive shortcut between the high school and where her parents' house was. Otherwise, if we had to walk around it, it would add an extra hour of walking time. And I can't remember how we ended up at the high school late at night, or if we were near that area at the time, but we decided to go through the shortcut, and we were taking turns scaring each other, being like, "Oh, careful, the ghost of the fire person's gonna come out." And then out of nowhere, there was this big bright light all the way down the end of the bush track. Now, keep in mind, it's not a very large distance. It's probably like, I don't know, 5-10 minutes of walking time, like very short. Just this big bright light. My first thought was, holy shit, it's a motorcycle. It's gonna come screaming through this bush track. We need to move to the side. So we moved to the side. The light turned off. Nothing happened. We thought, okay. And there was no sound either. So we just thought, all right, let's just keep walking as is. And then we just see the light go all the way past us. And I'm not someone who has ever had experience with like aliens or UFOs or anything like that. I mean, outside of watching the X-Files. And I looked at my friend Tiffany and she looked at me and I was just like, what the fuck was that? Like, I literally didn't know how the hell to describe what it was. We then get down to the end of the bush track, and also, like, to our viewers, keep in mind, this is 2009. There were no teenagers had iPhones at this stage. It was all Motorola Razrs or, like, flip phones. So we were relying on my phone's light, not a torch app or anything, but actual light from the phone. And we could see all these weird markings that kind of looked like the Triforce from Legend of Zelda, but it was in the sand on the ground. And we're like, is that coincidence, or like was that always there? Like, is it connected to the light? Like, we don't know. But what was even weirder was that about 2 weeks after that, about 2 weeks after that, her and I decided, stupid teenagers as is, I would never do this now, I don't have the stamina. We thought it would be a good idea to walk from her parents' house all the way to the other side of Nambucca where our other friend Daniel lived, and it's a good hour and a half walk. Oh my God. All up hills, massive hills and everything. Like, no wonder back in the day I was like super, super skinny because of the hills and everything. Whereas now I just drive everywhere. And so we spent an hour and a half walking all the way to our friend Daniel's house, and he wouldn't answer the door. And we were just like, fuck, we walked all this way. He's not answering. So then we thought, all right, let's walk all the way back. And we're having a good time, we're talking, and I don't know what we were talking about, but it wasn't anything to do with like spooky stuff. And anyway, as we're walking down her street, now keep in mind her parents' house are on a bit of a hill, so you can look up and you can just see into her living room, lounge room, whatever you want to call it. And I thought, who's that? And what I saw, and I'll explain what she saw, I saw a woman in a blue dress, very shiny, like silk blue. And I remember vividly, this woman walked from the TV to the lounge, and like the dress was flowing behind her. Like there was a lot of wind coming from the balcony.
Yeah.
I thought it was her mum. So I turned to Tiffany and I said, is your mum home? And she goes, shut up, don't. And I was like, oh, okay. She goes, there's a man in a blue suit. And I looked up and there was no one there. And I'm like, no, I saw a woman in a blue dress. Like, did you see that? She goes, dude, there's a guy in a blue suit up there right now. And I looked up, could not see anything. I had no idea what she was talking about. But we both saw someone in blue.
Yeah.
But
that gave me the chills.
I am adamant to this day it was a dress. Like,
yeah.
It had to be a dress. But then when we got inside her house, all the lights downstairs on the bottom level were off, which was normal. We go upstairs. I didn't feel haunted or uncomfortable in that house ever, and I never did. But her cat was perched on top of the staircase with its back in there being like something had scared it. And we looked everywhere. The doors were locked. There is no way someone could have broken into that house. And so we were just like, well, what did we see? Like, that's so strange. But that's part 2.
Oh my god.
Like, what's even weirder is part 3, where Tiffany and I did have a fight about something, and it was either maybe I got offended by something she said, or maybe it was when I was dating my first ever partner at the time, and I was spending more time with him compared to my friends at the time. Like, typical stuff you do in new relationships anyway.
Yeah.
And I just remember we were fighting about something, and then she said, look, come over to my house, let's talk about things. And I said, sure. Went over to her place, and we always had this arrangement where she would sleep in her bed and I would sleep on the floor, but on like a spare mattress, because this sounds so bad. Back in the day when I was like a teenager, I used to like have multiple people in my bed. It didn't matter what gender. It was never sexual or anything like that. It was just like friends in a bed, yay. She did not like that, and that's, you know, her prerogative. Like, I'm not going to judge people for that, because now I'm the same person. I'm like,
I'm like that. I'm like, don't touch me.
Yeah.
Don't touch me.
Does it look like the 4 of us are about to have sex right now, number 5, huh?
We were asleep in her room, and I had this very intense, vivid dream that I was walking down this, like a nature's trail walkway. I was trying to remember the name of it. It was called the Nature Trail or Nature Reserve or something. And I was walking down these steps, and there's no one else around me, but it's like nice and happy and everything. And then this person walks in front of me and goes, hi, Justin, how are you? But their face, I've got to bring it up, actually, because it was on channel 0, like this tree monster.
There's nothing terrifying about that.
Even then, it doesn't really look like the thing that I'm talking about. I know I've seen this in another movie or TV show before, but it came out years after I had this dream. This monster that talked to me and said, hi, Justin, how are you? It had mouths for eyes. Like, the mouths were here.
Yeah.
And I woke up, and it was like typical nightmare where I like threw the blanket off me, and I'm like, at the same time, Tiffany woke up, and she immediately starts drawing something in one of her journals. Like, I don't know if she is to this day. She used to be a very big artist, and I'm talking about like very advanced things. Like, she got a really good score in the HSC from memory, and she would do stuff that's like around like tea staining and using tea leaves in art, burn pages, things like that. And she starts drawing this thing before I could even tell her what I had dreamed about. And she flips a notebook around and goes, I just had a dream that I was walking down the nature strip or whatever it was called. And this thing said, hello. And it scared her so bad that she was afraid of birch trees for the longest time.
Oh my God.
And it's things where I've never had the same shared dream as someone else. Like, that's been the only other time I could think of. But
Yeah.
the fact that we both dreamed of the same thing, I didn't tell her what I saw either. It
Yeah.
always makes me wonder, like, were we connected in a psychic or spiritual or something sense? Because there were a lot of experiences between Tiffany and I during our short friendship that, you know, I'm kind of not surprised that it ended up being like this massive blow up where like eventually the police had to get involved in all that stuff. That's for another podcast, another day. But yeah, it's just wild. Like I think of other experiences, and honestly I might save them for another day. They're just not as like interesting compared to these ones. But I know you've had a lot of paranormal experiences too. Do you have any final stories to share with us?
Yeah, well, going off your shared connection story, I reckon this should be my final story. It's probably what I'd probably consider one of my first ever paranormal experiences when I was a child. So I have a twin brother where we're not identical, but I'm 2 minutes older. But at the time, like we were sharing a bedroom because we were like we were quite young. We were really young. And this night in particular, my brother had been a bit sick. Like I think he had a fever, so he wasn't feeling the best. But we were like both gone to sleep, blah blah, lying there. We both see this woman. Ooh. I remember her as being like having like, I don't really remember what she was wearing. I know she was really long and like gangly, but I just remember long black hair, really long black hair, like crawling across our bedroom like ceiling.
Oh my god!
And chipping at the paint, like in the corner, just kind of like sitting there, like almost crouching in the corner, like in the roof corner, but like chipping at the paint. But we could both see her and like freaked out, like called for my mum. I even messaged my brother 2 days ago and was like, do you remember this? And he was like, yeah, I do. And I asked my mum too. She remembers. So we were like, Mum, there's a woman, my mum, there's a woman. So she like comes running in, obviously cannot see a woman, but we turn on the light and there is paint chipped where the woman was. Like we had like stark white ceilings, but it was like that paint that's kind of like easy to chip, but they weren't chipped, like they were just normal. But that corner had all paint chipped off it where she had been, that it hadn't been before. And even my mum was like, what is this? What do I have little demons? Like what is this? Because we were both like, Mum, the woman. Like just, and we could both see her. And yeah, I like was like, do you remember this? And he's like, yeah, I do. Like, and I do not have a very good memory. Like I barely remember like much from my childhood at all. But that is like the one thing that I like vividly remember. And yeah, just like the sound, it was kind of like the ball being amplified. It was like the scratching was like in your ears, like you could just like hit, and you're just like, no, I can't, like, yeah, that has stayed with me and him for like ever. And yeah, my mum was just like, you were distraught, like, but she obviously couldn't see anything. But yeah, we looked up and just, it was chipped, and it was just like what was that? So I think that was kind of like the first one where it was anything ever like malicious, like anything that didn't feel just like, you know, oh, guardian angel, they're just watching over you. It's like, no, this is like something entity. Like it just, I just remember feeling like pure terror as a child. Yeah, that was, and yeah, I've like, that is like the one vivid memory that I have from childhood. But yeah, that's my, yeah.
I was going to say that's very, very similar to a story that my older sister still talks about to this day with me. When we were kids, and full disclaimer, I never saw this, so this is purely my older sister's story. We used to live in this house in Orange back when we were both kids, before we moved up to Nambucca Heads as teenagers and all that. And I always felt a sense of unease in this house back in Orange. But again, the only thing I could say that I saw was a shadow person walk past me once, but it was very brief and I never felt scared from that. My older sister, on the other hand, And I didn't believe her as a kid. It took me a while to come around to the idea that this could be true. Just because my sister would scare me as a kid, being like, oh, during nighttime, I see a little elf boy with a wheelbarrow walking through the house. And it would scare the shit out of me because I always had a fear of the dark. And so I would do things where, like, I would purposely, like, basically wet the bed so I didn't have to walk down the hall to go to the bathroom. Like, I was that level of scared. And then I confronted my sister about it years ago when we were both adults, and I'm like, do you remember telling me about how you used to see, like, a little elf or, like, a little elf boy or something, like, walking down the hall? She goes, yeah. And I said, well, did you? And then it started this whole thing where she told me all her paranormal experiences. The one being that she used to see, and she never, as an adult, she never said elf boy, she just said boy. Like a little kid walking with a wheelbarrow through the house, and it would terrify her.
Yeah.
But she was confused as to why I don't remember seeing it. And I'm like, I honestly don't remember seeing it. Like, I was just terrified of the dark and big sook, everything as a kid. And then she tells me how at her nan's house in Orange, before her nan moved houses about 10 or 11 years ago, I've had a very similar experience too. So my older sister told me that when she was a kid, she used to stay in the spare room, and there was a really scary man that lived in the room full time, would come out at night, come out of the closet, or would hide behind the door, and sometimes wouldn't say anything, and other times would try and talk, but he had like a very weird voice to it. And I never saw this man, but I remember we used to visit her nan, because it's her nan on her dad's side of the family. We have different dads. And I remember whenever I would go to that specific nan's place, I'd walk past the spare room and I'd be too terrified to look in it, thinking that like I would see something. And then when I was about 11 or 12, we stayed at my nan's house, and I stayed in the spare room, and after 3 minutes, I got up and left. I didn't see anything. I just had this overwhelming, like, panic and, like, overwhelming terror that I'm like, I need to get out of here. So I slept in the lounge room. Now, my older sister, this whole saga continues. The last time she ever heard or saw anything was when she had brought her partner and her partner's kids to stay at the nan's house, and the 3 little kids were staying in the spare room. And at this stage, my older sister had kind of just chalked up anything paranormal to being maybe in her head, as opposed to it being possibly real. All the kids were petrified that night. They said a man came out and tried to talk to them from the cupboard, and they're at the club. No, and tried to talk to them, and they were so terrified because they said that he was just a shadow.
Yeah. Oh my god.
No features, no nothing, but it was in the shape of a man, and it said hello. And they were petrified, did not want to go back into the room. Meanwhile, my sister's nan, I don't think necessarily believes in the paranormal or anything like that, but like I've never asked her directly, so I've always wondered like, who was that in the house then?
Yeah, who is that?
Like, that's weird. But also, it never travelled with them when my nan moved houses across town. Because I've been in her new house, like, I've stayed there quite a few times, actually. Never felt anything paranormal there, but the old house, no, I hated it.
Oh, that's so scary. Yeah, I hate anytime you like just see something. When like sometimes if I'm like staying somewhere new and I'm like, I'll like please, I'll just like speak it out. I'll be like, please just leave me alone.
It gets me, especially as a 33-year-old man now. There'll be some places that I go to, whether it's like for work or if it's like a friend's house or something. If I get any type of uncomfortable feeling, I have to work out an exit plan to be like, I need to get out of here as soon as possible. Like,
100%.
Barry, I just want to say thank you very much for joining me today for this very special one-off episode.
Thanks for having me. I'm so happy to tell all my stories. I love talking about all this stuff.
We are so glad you came. Bye-bye. 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 Bye-bye now. Bye. Bye-bye. Remember, please discard all candy wrappers and popcorn containers in the nearest trash receptacle. Thank you. Okay, bye-bye now. Bye-bye. Bye. Okay. Are they all gone? Is everybody gone? Huh? Good. Oh my gosh, my cheeks are killing me. I can't keep smiling like this anymore. I am exhausted. I think I need a break. A little break? Okay. Phew.